There are different types of costs to worry about. There are costs that while you're making the money, you're not losing the money. That's the cost we want to pay attention to, that you are investing. Hello, my darlings. Welcome. I hope you're having a spectacular day wherever you are. And I just want to say thank you, first of all, for all of you who have subscribed and watched my content. I really appreciate you. And if you're new to my channel, I appreciate you for joining me today. And also, if you wish to stick around, please subscribe, as that will help grow the channel and allow it to reach more people who will benefit from my content. Alright, let's get started. In today's video, I will discuss 8 points that will hopefully clarify some things for you. Point number 1, owning the stock market over the long term is a winner's game, but attempting to beat the stock market is the loser's game. This is fascinating because, again, honestly, it's quite easy to try to beat the stock market, honestly, when you have thousands of people inside constantly deciding on what they want to do with their particular stock that they are trading. Therefore, if you're trying to beat the stock market, it's more than likely going to be a loser's game. And I believe that that's what I talked about in the first episode. So if you do remember, that's what happened. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. The author had mentioned in the book that there was a very wealthy family, and in that family they were hundreds of people, I believe, in it, but a few of them decided that they wanted to use some smarter people to help them get better returns or something of that nature. But what happened was that they ended up losing some of their money as opposed to profiting the full amount. They were no longer getting all of their return, which was basically 100% of the profit. So this family consistently, when they were just doing it, they were constantly getting 100%. And then a few of them decided that, hey, let's try to get even more. Let's try to do it even better. Maybe we're not doing something right, which I don't understand. But yeah, in doing so, they end up losing, but they're winning, but they're just losing because they're trying to beat the market. So instead, they were getting like 60% of it, and they weren't sure why they kept losing, when clearly what the people who were helping them were doing was helping them make more money. So at the end of the day, even when we're making more money, we can easily lose because of all the expenses that occur. When you are in that in and out game on a daily consistent basis, that's going to cost you a lot. And I never paid attention to how much it cost me when I was entering and exiting. Every time I got in, it would cost me. When I left, it would cost me. I thought to myself, my goodness, what's going on? Where is my money going, and where is it? It told me I made this amount, but I don't have that amount. What's going on? Eventually, I had to go and check to see what was happening, right? Because at some point, you start to see it. You start to see the difference. Turns out I was losing, and I wasn't getting all of my profit because I was constantly in and out, and that was costing me. So that's something to think about. Point number 2. Instead of joining the crowd of investors who try to guess the stock market, choose to buy and hold diversified low-cost portfolio that tracks the stock market. I guess that's kind of the overall theme, right? You want to find a diversified low-cost portfolio that tracks the stock market. And if you pay attention to I don't know if you've heard of him, but Dave Ramsey, who is a financial expert, he talks about budgeting and XYZ. He does mention this as well, right? You want to be able to diversify, something of that nature. That's what I've heard. At least that's what I remember. So don't quote me on that, but that's what I remember. When I think of those words, I think of him and I think of that podcast. So I was someone who did not understand any of that language, but it's become clearer the more I've learned. So basically, one option is that getting an index fund is going to be better than going in with one stock at a time. If we're talking about having diversified index funds, right, things of that nature, then in that case, yes. But regardless, you get to decide which route you want to take and which route is best for you. Point number 3, most investors as a group fail to earn the return that our corporations generate through their dividends and earnings growth. We investors earn a gross return of 7%, but after we pay our financial intermediaries, we pocket what remains after costs. You see, as you may have noticed or learned, it costs to trade. And depending on how frequent or infrequent you trade, it will cost you a certain percentage, roughly 1 to 3%. And after that, you take home the balance. So that kind of clarifies the first part, right? The point. The more it costs you to be in the market, the more you lose. Because when you profit, there are going to be some expenses if others are involved. If you're in and out on a daily basis, you're going to be losing because of the costs. It's not necessarily because the stock market has gone down. That's natural, okay? That's the reality of life. The economy goes up and the economy goes down. Things happen in life where there are ups and downs. Those are natural occurrences. What isn't naturally occurring but you end up doing instead is incurring costs. That becomes a problem because even if you lost all of your money, you will still more likely get charged to exit the market. You'll get charged to get back in. And if you have other people working for you, then you will definitely have expenses. That's something to keep in mind if you're trying to avoid playing the loser's game. So yes, it costs to trade. There is a charge because everything costs, right? That's something we have all learned and or experienced in life. Nothing is really free unless, of course, you have your garden at home, you have a house that is fully paid off from the ground to the very top. It's all yours and the backyard is full of everything that you need to survive and thrive in life. Then yes, you have some things you can call complete freedom. But other than that, yeah, everything costs. And because of that, we have to remember that, yes, it does cost to trade. And depending on how frequent or infrequent you buy and sell, it will cost you a certain percentage, maybe 1 to 3% or more. Point number 4. The actively managed mutual funds management fees and operating fees average but 1.3%. Maybe higher today because, things are always going up. Plus the additional cost of sales charges. So yes, like I have mentioned, everything costs. So be smart about what you're doing. Learn about the economy so that you make better choices. Point number 5, we get what we don't pay for. What? I believe they're talking about the balance here. From the returns, right? The rewards. At the end of the day, if let's say you're putting together an event and you need a singer, and it so happens that you are a natural singer, or your sister or your child is a natural singer, if you're to use common sense in this instance and you all cared for each other, well, you would ask them to be the performer, or you would be the performer yourself. This way you save money. Otherwise, it would cost you to get a performer to sing at your event. Now, doesn't it make more sense to just get somebody you know that's a part of your family to do it? That's, of course, if they are really great and they don't mind. And of course, if you're hiring a friend, you're going to have to compensate them in some agreeable way, because time is everything. Time is a cost as well, right? But chances are, I'm sure your family member would love to be on stage. So that's basically the same thing as the statement, you get what you don't pay for. You want the full amount of your money to stay in your pocket. But if you don't mind having a little bit, then you will probably spend and just incur a lot of costs. If you want to have your full paycheck, you will put it away and do something different with it, as well as do something different for the other things you might need. Alright, point number 6. Investors pay far too little attention to the cost of investing. So if you want to get into investing, this is something you want to think about. A lot of times we're not thinking about the cost. One thing when learning about investing is no one's really going to talk about the cost, because that's not the selling point. The selling point is to start investing and making money, and therefore you're going to invest. However, there will be a big investment you'll have to make, but you're not going to pay attention to the cost while investing, because also your focus is on trying to profit. Yet, it would also profit you or benefit you to pay attention while you're investing. But know that there will be costs that are going to come along with that. Now, when it comes to learning about investing, or about anything really, making an investment is a good idea. That's a different type of cost. Let's say you wanted to learn about trading in a specific program. It will cost you, but it's not a bad expense, because this is an investment that's going to compound in your future. It's going to help you be, do, or live better. Do you see the difference there? There are different types of costs to worry about. There are costs that while you're making the money, you're not losing the money. That's the cost we want to pay attention to, that you are investing, trying to gain. Making an investment that is valuable, that is going to help you in your future, in your life, is not a cost. It's an investment, because at the end of the day, you will learn something, you will gain something, you will profit from that. However, let's say you are in the market and you are an investor and you're not paying attention to the costs. You will find yourself saying that, oh my gosh, my money is less than what it was supposed to be. That can be a problem if you're not paying attention. So pay attention to the costs. Okay, in the book the author shows a graph that shows a 50-year return span over time at $10,000 investment. Over time, that turned into $294,000, assuming there was an annual return of 7%. However, instead of earning the $294,000 by year 50, the investor earned $114,700. That is a massive difference. He lost $179,000. Now granted, he didn't have all of that, right? He didn't have the $179,000 to begin with. Heck, he did not even have the $114,000 to begin with either, because again, he invested only $10,000. But him earning that $114,000 is due to the compounding costs over that lifetime. So he lost $179,000. Sure, he did not have that amount to begin with, and it shouldn't hurt because he didn't have it. But had he not had additional costs and expenses, then he would have had the full amount of $294,000. That is a lot of money. I mean, wouldn't you want the full amount? And yes, $114,000 is equally a lot of money as well, especially in comparison to $10,000. But do you see the difference? When you have so many costs over time, they just get bigger and bigger and bigger because, well, the more money you make, the more is being deducted. And so because the more you make is being deducted, you end up with less. It's definitely something to really think about when you are entering the world of investing, or when you are already investing, to really consider and pay attention to the costs. Point number 7. Where returns are concerned, time is your friend, but where costs are concerned, time is your enemy. As time goes, the costs increase, therefore you take home less due to the costs. Yes, it's more than what you started with, like I mentioned, but a loss of, let's say again, $179,000, it's far more devastating to lose for me. Because wow, I could have gained that amount. The loss was more than what he received. That's insane. However, the investors could have avoided that loss if they invested in a simple, low-cost index fund. Okay, so that again is something to think about. And last but not least, point number 8. Costs make the difference between investment success and investment failure. So what does that mean to you? To some people, it's different, okay? You could say, wait a minute, I make a ton of money, even with the costs. That's wonderful for you, okay? But it's also important to think about the future. I like to talk about the future on this channel because that's something I never thought about. I never considered a future in my life, meaning the point where I will reach the standard retirement age. I would do things based on this week, but not a long-term future. Yes, I knew people got old because I had grandparents or aunts who were much, much older, but for some reason, it never occurred to me. I always saw age 24 as like, you're there, you're old. That's the max that I saw, that, okay, this is happening, I'm older, I'm an adult, and da da da. But yeah, just the future, because we actually keep growing. However, that's where we want to be, right? In the future, in the later years. We want to be successful in our long-term future, and then maybe our offspring have a better future as well because, well, we did so well for them. So if you want a successful investment, then perhaps that would mean having to think about what the costs are doing to you and how they may be affecting your future. And again, it's okay if you would rather make an expense because it's easier and helpful for you. It's easier for you to have someone manage things for you. That's fine. That works. If it's easier for you to go in and out of the stock market, that's fine. If it works for you, that's fine. If you want long-term full-on success, then consider basically an index fund. It's something that you will have there forever. Now, on a slightly different topic, if you're finding yourself struggling to reach your goals, or if you feel stuck in whatever your endeavor is, I invite you to join me in Mindset Ignition, where I walk you through the framework that I used to achieve my dream of being a film and television industry professional, so that you too can turn your desires into reality. The link is in the description box below if that's calling you. Alright, my darlings, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you were reminded of one thing in today's video, put the hands up emoji in the comment section below. Alright, thank you so much, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.